My stepbrother hates me, but I always love pestering him. He paid $20,000 to keep me from walking home with him after school, and $200,000 to make me transfer out of his class. Yet every single time, I'd find my way back to him. After the college entrance exams, he transferred a large sum of money into my account and said coldly, "Here's $5 million, go study abroad, and don't show up at my house again." My eyes reddened as I lowered my head and replied, "Okay, hooray." Finally fell for it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. I caught Edison attempting to kiss the scholarship student. In the dimly lit private room, he leaned wearily against the corner sofa, eyes closed. His delicate features obscured in the shadows. The girl in the white dress stood beside him, her hands resting on either side of his body as she tentatively leaned down, drawing closer to him. I suddenly pushed the door open. Startling her, she turned toward me in a fluster. Her eyes were moist, like those of a frightened deer. "Bella." I stepped past her and walked toward Edison. "The driver is here to pick me up. Uncle asked me to take you home as well." He picked up the coat beside him, draped it over his shoulders, and followed me out. Late at night, the hallway was sparsely populated. He casually closed the door behind him but didn't leave. Leaning lazily against it, she almost kissed me. I remained silent. His voice carried a hint of displeasure. "She's very timid. It took her a lot of courage to do this." I unlocked my phone, showing him the current time and the message from my stepfather, explaining softly, "Uncle really asked me to pick you up on the way." He glanced at it and responded half-heartedly, "Oh, I'm an adult now. The college entrance exams are over. He can't control me anymore. Snitching on me won't do any good." The bizarre, shifting light swept across, illuminating his features. His cheeks were flushed red. He was drunk. I clenched my sleeves, my voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. But he hastily interrupted me. "Go back by yourself." And his fingers tapped a few times on the phone. "Here's $5 million. Go study abroad and don't show up at my house again. Let's not see each other anymore. Bella, I really hate you. He never wants to see me again." My eyes instantly reddened as I lowered my head, suppressing a sob. "Okay." Edison turned and walked into the private room, slamming the door hard behind him. I checked the numbers on my mobile banking app. Finally unable to hold back, I crouched down, covered my mouth, and let out a muffled hee laugh. Hooray, finally fell for it. Edison has hated me for a long time. He thinks both my mom and I are after the Jackson family's money. Then he's very clever. When I was 14, he put 2 geckos on my bed, trying to force me to leave his house. I was scared to tears. My stepfather gave me some pocket money to comfort me. Seeing the money, I became happy again. When I was 16, Edison and I were assigned to the same high school. He didn't want to be in the same class as me, nor did he want my stepfather to hit him and then comfort me, so he skipped the other steps. $200,000. Transfer out of this class. First year of high school. I left. In my second year of high school, I went back again. He didn't specify a time limit. When I walked back to class with my backpack, Edison's face was dark. The boy sitting in front of him was grinning. Edison, your sister is really persistent," Edison said coldly. "She's not my sister." Everyone exchanged knowing smiles. Edison looked at me and frowned. "What will it take for you to disappear from my sight?" My eyes reddened. "Do you hate me that much?" He held up a number. I bit my lip. "Sorry, I walked into the wrong class today. I've spotted a business opportunity." Edison is seriously wealthy. His mother overseas has already paved every path for him. He plays golf while I work as part of the ambience crew, fetching his water and jacket. He came to confront me. I looked up, my eyes filled with stars. Is it wrong to just admire my brother? He transferred me money. "If you're bored, go out for a walk. Stop bothering me. Then I'll graciously accept." I pestered Edison for over a year. Everyone knew he had this stepsister, even joking that we'd visit him at the orthopedic hospital next time. Over time, Edison couldn't even be bothered to explain, just kept telling me to take the money and scram. But I won't leave my ATM. Edison came of age, and he drank alcohol. After he returned home from the hotel, I held a hangover soup in one hand and supported him with the other, hoping his drunken blurry vision would make him add an extra 0 to the transfer. He narrowed his eyes, looking down at me, and suddenly spoke. "Bella, you're truly cunning and manipulative." His words carried a hint of mockery. My foot, mid-step on the stairs, paused. Getting scolded comes at an extra price. He unexpectedly grabbed my waist, turned off the light with his free hand, and pinned me against the railing of the spiral staircase to kiss me. The world went dark in an instant. Only his infinitely magnified eyes and brows remained. His breath was like a sudden storm. Startled, I pushed him away with all my strength. The bowl in my hand clattered to the ground and rolled down the stairs. My stepfather called from upstairs. Bella, what's wrong? Suppressing the tremor in my voice, I cried out with practiced grievance. Brother is drunk and throwing a tantrum. He smashed my bowl. Edison hung his head, leaning against the railing in silence amidst the dim light. His stepfather sighed. That's just how he is. He gets crazy when he's drunk. Don't mind him. Go back and rest first. I'll help him. I fled back to my room. 3 a.m. Edison sent me a message. Sorry, didn't see clearly, mistook you for someone else. It was the first time he apologized to me. It was humiliating. Attached was a transfer. I didn't accept it, nor did I reply. I only found out later who that person was. Edison, one of her suitors, a top 10 student from a poor family. Dora, insecure and timid, she could only admire him from afar. Edison unexpectedly noticed her. He said, she's just like Bella. Always putting on that pitiful look. Who's she trying to fool? He detests me, yet enjoys seeing Dora act that way. After school, I waited in the car for him to come out. Behind him stood a girl in school uniform. The car door opened. He didn't get in, holding her backpack, and casually raised an eyebrow at me, saying, "Get out." I froze for a moment. Dora carefully raised her hand, grabbed his arm, and gave it a gentle shake, her voice soft. "Forget it, Edison. I can go back by myself." Edison didn't back down, his voice growing colder. "I'm taking her home. The money's been transferred to you. Take a cab back yourself. Why not give me more so I can buy my own car to go back? Whatever, know when to stop." I nodded awkwardly, biting my lip and gripping my backpack straps tightly as I obediently got out of the car. At dusk, the crowds dispersed. Standing alone by the roadside, I stared at the tips of my shoes as tears fell one by one. It wasn't until that car drove off in the completely opposite direction that I wiped away my tears and opened Edison's message, 20,000. Good thing I didn't check the message in front of him earlier, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to cry. Edison's 5 million came too late, having never prepared for IELTS in advance. I had no choice but to cancel most of my travel plans and gatherings, holing up in my room memorizing vocabulary. Edison was throwing a party downstairs with his good-for-nothing friends. The sound system was blaring. I took off my headphones and walked downstairs. "Can you keep it down a bit?" Edison's friend patted the empty spot beside him and said with a smile, "Bella, you're home. Why don't you join us?" I smiled sheepishly, pursing my lips. I was upstairs memorizing vocabulary words. Memorizing vocabulary. Someone finally turned off the stereo to listen to me properly. I thought these overachievers only existed online. "Dora is here to play. You should come too." Edison never looked up the entire time. Dora sat beside him, smiling gently at me. Then she looked as if she wanted to say something but stopped herself. "Bella, you're not thinking of repeating the year, are you?" I wasn't close to her, for her to call me so intimately. "It seems things are getting serious between her and Edison," she continued. "It's okay if you didn't do well on the exam. Uncle Jackson is so wealthy. You must have many paths you can take." Sensing the tension between us, everyone fell silent. I said gently, "Yeah, my family is rich. It doesn't matter how I do on the test." "Dora, are you worried about failing?" Her face turned pale. Edison finally looked up and patted the back of her hand reassuringly. "Bella, don't speak so harshly." I nodded. "Okay, I'm going upstairs to study. Keep your voices down." I put on my headphones and walked up the stairs. Several pairs of eyes on my back made me feel like sitting on pins and needles. On the day the results were released, Dora was also at the Jackson residence. This time, the excuse was that her family's ancient Qing dynasty-era computer had broken down, even though we knew the provincial authorities would send the scores via text message. Edison still indulged her and brought her home. Shortly after 3 p.m., Edison's study echoed with the sound of her sobbing. I don't know if it's from sorrow or overwhelming joy. Text messages don't come with total scores. Edison held a calculator, adding up her grades subject by subject for her. I left for class, passing by his study on my way out. The door was left open. He leaned against the bookshelf and read out the score, 672, just loud enough for me to hear. He knew I was passing by this way, not even lifting his head. "What about you?" Dora looked puzzled. "What?" I changed my shoes downstairs and casually replied, 680, an extraordinary performance. I was just waiting for him to ask. Something suddenly fell to the ground, making a sound. "My dad wants you to apply to Zhejiang University." At night, Edison stood outside the door and said to me, "My stepfather is quite a traditional man. He valued education. Believing that his children attending prestigious universities would enhance his social standing, I gripped the doorknob, intending to close the door. "But you're the one who sent me abroad." Edison remained silent for a moment before laughing again. "Since when do you listen to me so obediently? With the money already received, how could I not comply?" though in the past, I'd only ever followed half your orders. He told me to get lost, so I rolled away for an hour before coming back. This time, I was genuinely embarrassed. 5 million. I swear I'll take it and leave, never to show my face again. At family gatherings, my mom and I could always have our own separate table, he said. So you're not going to listen to my dad anymore? I've played the good girl at home plenty of times. I lowered my head, biting my lip, pretending to be meek and docile while clutching the hem of my skirt. He said, "Give me the password, I'll fill it in for you," I meekly replied. "Don't exile me to the borderlands." Edison let out a light chuckle. "You know I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't care. I'm ready to accept the overseas offer." To play it safe, Edison applied for Zhejiang University's agricultural science program for himself, filled in Dora with mechanical engineering. His mom's side has plenty of money and connections. All he cares about is the title, not the major. He filled out all 80 of my college application choices, every single one in Hangzhou. Now I have to delete them one by one. He and Dora were both successfully admitted, completely disregarding whether Dora lived or died. His stepfather was overjoyed and prepared to book a hotel to host his college acceptance celebration banquet. At the dinner table, he opened a bottle of red wine and clinked glasses with my mother. Edison came downstairs and casually mentioned, "Bella, do you want to have the celebration together with me?" We also held our graduation banquet together after the middle school entrance exams. The stepfather smiled. "Bella won't have hers for now. She's planning to study abroad. To avoid taking up someone else's university admission spot, she deleted all her application choices. Her matters can be handled next year." Edison, the faint smile at the corners of his lips vanished instantly. His expression turned gloomy. Going abroad, I kept my head down and ate quietly, occasionally taking small sips of the $100,000 per bottle red wine. Couldn't appreciate the taste, but the more I drank, the more I earned. I definitely couldn't bear to buy it for myself. My stepfather frowned. "That's right, the decision was made somewhat hastily, but I fully support Bella. On such a happy occasion, why are you making such a face?" Edison lowered his eyes. "I'm not happy." His stepfather was puzzled. "You were the one who said you wanted to attend the same university as the person you like. Now you've been accepted, and it's Zhejiang University. What's there to be unhappy about? The major isn't great, but you can always transfer later. It's not like they'll actually make you farm the land. Your mother is also very happy. She wants you to spend a month with her during summer vacation." Edison asked, "Which country?" My stepfather slammed his chopsticks down. "You don't even know which country your own mother is in now." He looked at me. I asked Bella. The stepfather silently picked up the chopsticks. I set down the wine glass and cautiously raised my eyes. "Haven't decided yet." In the evening, Edison sat in my room, using my computer to look up information. His was broken. When checking the preliminary admission results, Dora got so excited that she knocked over her water glass. "Honestly, at your age." Still playing with water in the study, he took my chair, so I had to sit on the bed. The room was quiet, with only the sound of his keyboard tapping and mouse clicking. "Go to America," he suddenly spoke. "Why?" He paused. "Stay away from me." But that was the country where his own mother lived. I glance at him. Wriggling further away on the bed, Edison gives me a look, the corner of his lips curling into a barely perceptible smile. "Come take a look at this school." Playing the big brother again. Moody as the weather, the air conditioning in the room was set a bit too low. I stepped barefoot on the cold floor, then quickly drew my feet back, searching everywhere for my slippers. Edison casually tossed the coat draped over his shoulders onto the floor. "Step on it. He's actually going crazy today without even drinking." I ignored him, tiptoed around, and walked over to the desk. His expression remained unchanged as he lightly moved the mouse. "How is it?" I said. "Not bad." He switched through a few web pages. I kept repeating, "Not bad, whatever." Edison stopped moving. He leaned back in his seat and looked up at me. I had already made my choice. I just didn't want to tell him. It started raining outside, a sudden summer downpour. The rain pattered against the window, rustling softly. "Are you blaming me?" he suddenly asked me, his voice so quiet it was nearly drowned out by the rain. A nonsensical question. I thought for a moment and answered honestly, "No, not at all." It was strange at first. He bullied me, telling me to get out of the Jackson family. He said I was just like my mother, a gold digger only after money. My mom has some money too, just not as much as his parents. He never gave me a friendly look at school either. But a cold stepbrother can turn into warm numbers in your bank balance, so I don't really care how he treats me. As for him sending me abroad in a fit of pique, I even think of him as my benefactor. It's just that now I can't be bothered to pretend anymore, nor is there any need to keep up the act. He added, retreating to advance. "This is difficult for me to answer. Showing weakness and taking his money could be considered a strategic retreat, But it's not what he thinks. I pressed my lips together, hesitating to speak. His phone on the desk lit up just in time. It was Dora calling him. After a moment's hesitation, he answered and walked outside. Before closing the door, he patiently told her. I couldn't answer right away, so I picked up late. He does know how to speak properly. It was purely directed at me before. Edison took Dora out to play. Dora posted travel photos on her social media. By the seaside, she wore a straw hat and a white dress, smiling like a flower. The photo also bore the watermark of the camera. Caption: he said he wants to raise me all over again. He wants to host a feast for the child I once was. I gave it a like, scrolled down. Liked all the travel posts from my high school classmates. Everyone's life seems so vibrant. Nice to see, love to see. Please post more. Dora sent me another private photo. It's Edison sleeping outside, lying on the picnic table. Bella, it's a good thing you didn't come. Traveling is really exhausting. Staying home to rest is much more comfortable. I remained silent for a moment. How could you just fall asleep outside like this? Could it be you're out of money? You wouldn't take back what you gave me, would you? I felt somewhat nervous, deliberated for a moment, then cautiously replied, then let him rest well here. Don't overexert himself. If the beach is too hot, you could also find a bridge arch to sleep under. Dora was typing for a long time. Bella, I really need to talk to you. You and Edison are both adults now. Step-siblings without blood relation should maintain even more distance. I stared at the lengthy message, sinking into silence. Me. Understood. During the long summer vacation, I passed the IELTS exam, organized all the materials, and submitted my application. Many schools already accept Gaokao and AST scores for applications, and I'm doing my best to secure admission this year. After mid-August, Edison went to register at school. I'm still stuck at home. Home isn't far from school, and after military training, Edison comes back almost every week. He rarely communicates with me, but we see each other every week. Dora occasionally comes back with him. She follows Edison through the door, sees me sitting on the living room sofa reading a book, looks quite surprised, then pretends to be familiar. Bella hasn't received the offer yet. Does that mean she won't be able to enroll until next year? Edison twitched his lips. Probably. She seemed to suddenly understand. Doesn't that mean they'll graduate a year later than us? I replied calmly. The undergraduate program at the university I applied to is 3 years. I'm not sure what nerve I touched. She pursed her lips in embarrassment, then looked up at Edison. I didn't know about this, Edison said indifferently. It's normal not to know. The starting points differ. Those who know shouldn't feel superior. As if pointing at me. I don't know where I offended them, but not wanting to argue, I closed the book spread on my knees and went upstairs. Edison called out to me from behind. Which school? I turned around. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the steps. I smiled at him. Better not say it. Don't want to show off my privilege. Mid-September. It was a weekday when my stepfather and mother saw me off at the airport. He had wanted Edison to take leave and come see me off together. I refused. Big brother has never liked me. I shouldn't trouble him. By leaving directly, I granted his wish after all. The plane steadied in flight. I opened the window shade and looked outside. Nothing but clouds. The ground was no longer visible. The flight was long. So I pulled up the blanket, adjusted my neck pillow, and closed my eyes to sleep. It was quite unexpected. I dreamed of Edison. When he was 14, a relative told him with malice that his mother had come. He rushed out excitedly, only to see me and my mother. Oh, she's talking about a stepmother, not a biological mother. My first impression of Edison was that he seemed very gloomy. He was pale and thin, staring at me with a listless expression. My stepfather was very busy. His biological mother was far away abroad. I thought perhaps he was quite pitiful too, until I felt 2 geckos in the bedding at night. Then I realized I was the more pitiful one. In my youth, I was always at odds with him. His stepfather only ever hit him, because he was the biological child easier to discipline. My mother never hit me either. She only ever indulged me. I thought about being Edison nicer. But pitying men brings bad luck. The first time I tried baking a cake, I asked if he wanted some. He dumped it. The first love letter I ever received, he tore it up. During his rebellious phase, he spoke little, only repeating the word hate to me over and over again. Hated me. Hated sharing a household registry with me. Hated how I always put on that pitiful, innocent expression. I was furious and gave him the cold shoulder for 2 months. It wasn't until high school started that he finally took the initiative to speak to me. His first words were still about hating me, telling me to transfer classes. His second sentence was offering me $200,000. That should be good enough now. I smiled obediently. Good enough, but... Edison tossed the voluntary gift contract onto the table with a sneer. Gold digger. I landed in London, rented a flat and began living alone. At first, I couldn't adjust to the all-English lectures and didn't like the food here. I was miserable all day long, wanting to go home. Edison only messaged me a week after I left home. You just left without saying a word. Yeah, why? I took a long time to reply to him. Because I hate you too, there's no need to inform you. I never spoke to him like this before taking his money, because I thought it wasn't worth arguing with someone starved for love. Now, in my bad mood, I couldn't care less about his feelings. Edison didn't reply to me again. Instead, Dora was the one who called me. She asked me through tears, "What did you say to Edison?" While reading, I gave a perfunctory reply, "Nothing much." She choked back a sob. "He deleted me." I closed the book, startled. "He hit you. He actually hits women." Dora was crying so hard she could barely catch her breath. After regaining some composure, she gritted her teeth and said clearly, "He deleted all my contact information." I said, "Probably got drunk and started acting like a fool. Just wait till he sobers up, he'll regret it." I hung up the phone, too busy to provide emotional support for her. After the first semester ended, I had a month-long break to return home, walking with a senior student who happened to be going the same way. His family was running late, so he had to wait a while longer, so he ended up accompanying me part of the way, helping me with my luggage. After exiting the station, I saw Edison. He had grown leaner, making his tall frame appear even more slender. He took my suitcase from the senior's hand and walked beside me. There was no mockery, no avoidance toward me. At 19 years old, it seemed he had finally begun to resemble a decent human being. "Who was that person just now?" He stopped and asked me. I said, "A senior I'm quite familiar with." Edison said, "Be careful when you're out. Don't trust others too easily. Many international students aren't exactly pure-hearted." I looked up at him, a hint of hesitation in my gaze. "That's not necessarily true. I think my boyfriend is a genuinely good person." Edison paused. I had already spotted my stepfather's car in the parking lot and jogged over. Pulling open the door, Mom was sitting in the passenger seat. "Where's Edison?" "Didn't he go to pick you up?" I set down my backpack. "He walks slowly. I wanted to see you sooner, so I ran here." Mother smiled. "I asked Auntie to buy groceries already. I'll make your favorite dishes when we get back." "You're all ready?" She paused. Haven't lost weight." After waiting for 3 minutes, Edison still hadn't come over. His stepfather called him. He hurried over and sat in the back row. My backpack was between us. His eyes remained downcast, bloodshot. Lost in unknowable thoughts. At the dinner table, Edison remained equally silent, detached from it all. This was simply his way, sparing no one's feelings. Everyone was used to it. After finishing my meal, I didn't go upstairs but went to the garden to swing. The courtyard rustled with orange-red fallen leaves. Edison followed me out too. He stood behind me. His voice was slightly hoarse. "Is it true that you've found someone you like, or did you just make up a boyfriend to spite me?" My toes lightly brushed against the grass, forcing the swing to slow down. "Why would I use this to upset you? Would this make you angry?" Edison avoided answering. "What's his name?" I said. "Darcy." I wasn't lying to him, nor would I use such petty tricks to get his attention. "I really am with someone else now, Bella." "You've only been abroad for 3 months." I nodded, quite composed. "Exactly, because we just got together." I didn't ask him to cancel his plans to accompany me back to China. He took a deep breath. "Is he very wealthy?" "I've never looked into it. Probably not as wealthy as you. Few people are as generous as Edison, who used to transfer tens of thousands as pocket money during high school." Edison suddenly gripped the swing ropes. The ropes were rough, and by the time the swing stopped, his palms were already bleeding. He stepped before me and leaned down. His dark eyes were inscrutable. "Colder than the autumn wind tonight. What exactly do you see in him?" "Too close." I turned my face away and shrank back. "He's a good person. Move aside. I need to go back to my room." "Darcy is a good person. He's a friend of my friend. He's gentle and courteous to everyone, even at gatherings of over a dozen people, never letting anyone's words go unheard. I met him at a gathering organized by a friend. I couldn't get used to the food there, so I only took a few bites and ended up starving all night. Darcy has a UK driver's license. In the end, it was him who drove me and my friend back to the apartment. On the way, he made a brief stop at the villa he shared with others, went upstairs to grab a few things. "There are 2 soufflés, one for me and one for my friend." He handed me the box, the corners of his eyes slightly upturned with a gentle smile. "Freshly baked this afternoon. Give them a try. You can eat it in the car." I thanked him. And then in the car, the aroma moved me to tears. All these days, the homesickness, the pressure from studies, the sadness of not eating well had piled up. Suddenly tasting something delicious, I couldn't hold back, and tears fell one by one. My friend was startled and gently nudged me with an elbow. "What's wrong?" I sobbed. "It's nothing, it's just too delicious." My friend slapped his thigh and exclaimed, "Hey, let's go mooch a meal off him tomorrow, he's really good at cooking." Both Chinese and Western cuisine. Since I wasn't that familiar with him after all, I didn't dare to go. The next day, my friend came back with a lunchbox and insisted on giving it to me. I'm back from hunting, and I brought back some food to share. Inside the adorable ceramic lunchbox, the rice was packed tightly. Half of it was topped with tomato scrambled eggs and beef, while the other half was left plain. There were also Coke braised chicken wings stacked like a little wall. I subtly probed my friend about Darcy's preferences, wanting to return the favor. She asked and came back to tell me, "He just wants your contact information. Does that count as a gift?" I gave, and then picked another thing to send. This was the beginning of my acquaintance with Darcy. Edison didn't move an inch. He said, "Good people can pretend. You've only known each other for 3 months. He's probably trying to scam you." His gaze lingered on my brows and eyes. "Maybe he just pities how you look, thinks you're an easy target. What's so wrong with droopy eyes anyway? Edison, you always assume the worst in people." 3 months, I truly don't know Darcy well enough. But that's how all relationships start. At least, I'm happy when I'm with him. He always has such a gentle demeanor and never says anything upsetting. I pushed Edison away with all my strength. Caught off guard, he staggered back 2 steps. I walked around him, ran back upstairs, and locked my door. There were a few more potted plants on the balcony, ones I didn't recognize. I took photos and sent them to the housekeeper. "Auntie, what are these?" She replied, "Blue snowflakes. Your brother had me bring them over so you could see the flowers when you come home next year." Blue snowflakes. I used to like them, when I first moved here. I thought the balcony looked empty and wanted to grow some plants. I heard blue snowflowers are very easy to care for. After school, I bought 5 pots of them. Edison didn't even let me through the front door. He stood on the doorstep, blocking the entrance, his slightly youthful face full of impatience. "I'm allergic to pollen." "Lost it. You go out too, wash up before coming back." Auntie said that after I went abroad, Edison started growing flowers. The blue snowflower has a long blooming period, still flowering in November. Edison took photos at the time and posted them on his social feed, which his aunt liked, but I didn't. I had set him to acquaintances only, so it wasn't a real allergy after all. I said, "Give it back to him. I don't like it anymore." In early January, I returned to school again. Edison came to see me off, in the name of an older brother. I couldn't refuse in front of my stepfather, but fortunately, I don't have to spend the new year with him this year. On New Year's Eve, after class, Darcy came to pick me up. I can't cook in my apartment, spending New Year's at the villa he rented with friends. Many friends were there. Everyone was playing cards in the living room. Darcy was in the kitchen. I tied on his other apron, pinned up my hair, and walked over. "Let me help you. I can bake cakes." He looked down at me and chuckled softly. Picking up a clean strawberry, she brought it to my lips. "Then help me taste it first." I took a bite, and the sweet tart juice overflowed in my mouth. Delicious. Darcy brought over a glass bowl filled with freshly washed strawberries. "Is this a test for me?" Holding the bowl, I looked up at him and said honestly, "I really came here to help you work." He said with a smile, I know. Go over there." There stood a long table for making desserts. Clean and exquisite kitchenware and ingredients were neatly arranged, like toys from a playhouse. Darcy prepared over a dozen dishes. I baked strawberry-flavored cupcakes. Everyone had a great time. Late at night, he walked me home. Tonight, I had a little wine, and my cheeks were flushed, not drunk, but wanting to take advantage of this tipsy feeling to act spoiled with him. My voice even turned all cutesy. We arrived downstairs, the car door opened, and the cold wind outside blew against my face, a bit chilly. Darcy fastened my scarf, put on my fluffy hat, and helped me out of the car. I held his hand, stepping slowly and deliberately on the thick snow, swaying a little as I walked. The snow hadn't been cleared yet, a vast expanse of white. I didn't see the steps clearly and almost missed my footing. Darcy reached out to wrap his arm around my waist, pulling me back in. We were very close. I nearly bumped into the tip of his nose. His complexion was fair, but now his face was slightly flushed, like white porcelain tinted with color. "It's very beautiful." I thought the timing was right. So I gently tugged at his sleeve, mustered my courage, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him. The night was deep, and the streetlights cast a faint glow. The wind blowing past was cold, but his face was burning hot, his breath scorching. The kiss ended. Blushing furiously, I buried my face in his chest. Darcy cupped the back of my head with his hand and let out a soft chuckle. I turned my head and opened my eyes sheepishly. My gaze froze. A passerby in a black overcoat stood far below, silently watching it all. "It's Edison." I said a clingy goodbye to Darcy, entered the hallway. Edison quickly walked toward me, bringing a chill with him. He had no idea how long he'd been standing outside, snowflakes settling on his short black hair. He knew the address of my apartment. Sometimes Mom would video call me in the living room, neither of us avoiding anything, nor would I have imagined that he'd come here alone, so quietly. At a time like this, our eyes met, and we spoke simultaneously. "Happy New Year's Eve. How did you get here?" Edison said. "Came to see you." I averted my gaze from him. "I'm fine." His jawline tensed, his Adam's apple bobbing with difficulty. "I'm sorry, such a nonsensical thing to say. What exactly are you apologizing for? Did you rent that mouth?" Speaking more words would cost extra. I remained silent. He paused, looked at my face, and explained on his own. "I never touched Dora. I just wanted to know your stance. You're not like her. It's her who sometimes pretends to be like you, so it was about that matter." I said. "All right, got it. Don't bring it up again." Whether angry or sad, he lowered his eyes and leaned against the wall. The dust from the wall smeared onto him. "He lets you live in a place like this. I was living here before I met him. I picked this apartment myself. I quite like it here." He smiled self-deprecatingly. "Before you went abroad, Dora and I had a fight. She peeked at my phone while I was taking an online class and saw the transfer I sent you. I haven't done the math these years, but she had the patience to add it all up over $1 million. She cried, saying I never really loved her. After all, where the money goes, the heart follows." By the end, his voice trembled slightly. "I was overthinking it. So you want the money back? What he gave me, plus the $5 million before going abroad, I can pay it all back. Otherwise I wouldn't have accepted it. I've had the idea of studying abroad since middle school, but my mother preferred that I go for graduate studies instead. The money had been set aside long ago." Edison spoke in a hoarse voice. "How could you think that? What's given to you is yours to keep." Growing impatient, my gaze wandered as I began counting the tiles on the floor. "Then why bring it up?" He fell silent for a moment, his lowered lashes trembling slightly. Fingertips digging deep into his palms. "Where the money flows, there the heart follows. You're the one who said that first. Bella, I've liked you all these years, haven't you ever noticed?" His voice choked. "Thinking someone likes you is one of life's greatest illusions." When I first met Edison, he'd already outgrown that childish phase of bullying whoever he liked. In high school, I had my suspicions, but his mood swings made it hard to believe there was even a hint of affection. I shook my head. "Then I'm the greedier one. I want both piles of money and heaps of love. You treated me so poorly. I thought the money you gave me was compensation for emotional distress." He closed his eyes. "I just couldn't bring myself to say it. I always thought I should hate you, should tell you to get lost. I didn't dare say I liked you. Didn't dare let you keep appearing before my eyes." It was getting late. I'm feeling a bit sleepy and yawned, because he was standing beside me. He never pressed the elevator button. "All right, you should go. I need to go upstairs." Edison had slightly reddened eyes. "I flew a long way to see you. You won't even invite me to sit down." I remembered that Dora had sent me that little essay before. I took out my phone and began reciting it with dramatic flair. "I'm seeing someone now. Since we're unrelated siblings, we should maintain even more distance. Fight fire with fire." Finally managed to send the heartbroken Edison away. Darcy still found out about me and Edison. After dating for a year, I deliberately chose a day when Edison wasn't home to take him to meet my mom, unexpectedly. Edison drove 2 hours back from school after seeing his aunt's grocery shopping post on social media. During dinner, I sat beside Darcy and unconsciously acted coquettishly with him. "Brother, I want some juice." He naturally picked up my glass and poured some for me. Edison also stood up, then sat back down empty-handed. Darcy looked at him with an apologetic smile. What could have been brushed off with a few teasing words, Edison instead turned cold-faced. He put down his chopsticks. "Can any form of address become an intimate joke between you two?" Darcy froze for a moment. With elders present, he lowered his gaze and said gently, "I'm sorry, I overstepped my bounds." The meal didn't continue pleasantly after that. I scolded Edison. "What's gotten into you now? What's it got to do with you? I haven't called him brother in a long time. He never asked me to treat him as one either. What's wrong with calling your boyfriend that?" It was the first time I'd ever yelled like that. Both my stepfather and mother were startled. Edison was stunned. He couldn't save face and didn't retort a single word, burying his head in his meal. The soup before him seemed to grow as he drank. It was he who suddenly shed tears. The stepfather was startled once again. Edison wiped the corner of his eye, stood up, and left. Darcy only knew I had a stepbrother. My stepbrother had a terrible temper, was wildly rich, and did as he pleased at home, showing respect to no one. Beyond that, I knew nothing at all. After dinner, while taking a walk in the courtyard, I confessed to Darcy, though confessed isn't quite the right word. I hadn't done anything wrong, but what I said might upset him. I might have to coax him later. I lifted my gaze, quietly observing his expression. His brows were slightly furrowed. I asked in a hushed voice, "Are you angry?" He replied, "Yes, he's really angry." I let go of his hand, pinching my own sleeve. Trying to think of something to say, he takes my hand again, interlacing our fingers. Turning his head, he looks at me helplessly. "I'm not angry with you, angry with Edison." Too familiar with what anger is. Agreement reached. Never mind Edison. Life went on as usual. When the vacation ended, I returned to school, attending lectures in the auditorium, writing papers at the Senate Library, going out to eat with Darcy. Later, I decided to pursue graduate studies. Everything went smoothly. Edison occupied an increasingly smaller proportion of my life. Once I saw my aunt cleaning his study, she gathered a stack of papers, all boarding passes, to London. Not sure who she's trying to move. Quite unfortunate. I've moved to a new place, and the school is crowded with people. He's been there so many times, yet we've never bumped into each other. Before Christmas, I received an offer from the new school. The new school is better than my undergraduate university. With the right person by my side and a bright future ahead, with wings that soar through the wind's domain, springs appointed are they'll rise again. The end. Story 2, 3 years ago. My biological sister and I secretly married the two brothers from the Gregory family. I married the elder brother, the CEO of the Gregory family, while she married the younger brother, the vice president. Before her death, my mother endured 3 full days on a hard-seat train just to attend our wedding. For this, I knelt at the doorstep of the Gregory family for 2 days without eating or drinking, until Eric finally agreed to play along with our charade. But when it was his turn to perform, I shouted myself hoarse without seeing any sign of him. Not even his brother Garth showed up. Mom was so frantic she fainted on the spot, while my sister held her in her arms and sobbed uncontrollably, trembling all over. I called Eric, only to have him hang up 3 times before finally answering. Hearing my anxious and nervous voice, he replied impatiently, "You always use your mom as an excuse. I already promised you. Do you think I'd back out now?" Maggie cut her hand. "And I need to take her to the hospital first. She got hurt because of you. Can you stop picking fights with me at a time like this?" Before I could say another word, he hung up and blocked my number. My sister immediately called her husband, Garth, begging him through tears to rush to the wedding venue. But all she heard was a torrent of scolding. "Don't you know the story of the boy who cried wolf? How come every time Maggie has an emergency, your mom suddenly can't hold on? If you're not tired of acting, I'm tired of watching. I still need to pay the hospital bills. Don't waste my time." The moment the call ended, her mother breathed her last in her arms. The wedding turned into her mother's funeral. My sister and I handled her funeral arrangements together, then sent divorce notices to the 2 brothers of the Gregory family. Yet they brought Maggie back to our home. By the time we finished handling Mom's funeral arrangements, it was already dark. My sister and I finally returned home, only then finding time to help each other out of the rented, cheap wedding dresses. It had been 10 hours since I sent the divorce message. There was no response whatsoever. This wasn't the first time they'd abandoned us for Maggie. As for me, I never thought even our divorce would have to wait in line behind their white moonlight. During our 3 years of marriage, whenever we were alone together, Maggie would always coincidentally encounter all sorts of mishaps. Either the pipes would leak, or the gas wouldn't light. Common household issues that happened to Maggie became catastrophic disasters for the 2 men of the Gregory family. My sister had begged for my help countless times. I had questioned and protested at first, but subsequent events proved that our fates were sealed the moment they entered into that secret marriage. As my sister and I finished packing our belongings and our mother's remaining clothes, preparing to leave, they finally returned. Maggie obediently trailed behind them, waiting for them to fetch her slippers. The laughter and banter among the 3 of them came to an abrupt halt the moment they saw me and my sister. Eric flashed a look of impatient irritation in his eyes and said coldly, "Where have you been? What's wrong with you again? Didn't I already explain today's matter to you?" He stared indifferently at my bloodshot eyes, reddened from exhaustion. The voice grew increasingly impatient. "Enough already. This wedding was just a show to begin with. It just happened to coincide with Maggie's injury. What was I supposed to do? I'll make it up to you with another one later. Alright, besides, if your mother hadn't come, she wouldn't have even thought about making medicinal food for her and ended up cutting her hand. I haven't even settled accounts with you yet. And you're still making a scene. Just drop it already." My sister's grip on my hand tightened, trembling faintly. Beside him, Garth couldn't even be bothered to offer an explanation. Bending down to fetch Maggie's slippers, he even thoughtfully helped her put them on. Maggie glanced at the suitcases in our hands and looked at Eric with a pout. "Eric, why bring that up? It was my fault for delaying your wedding in the first place." After speaking, she turned back to explain to me. Caroline, why did you even bring out the suitcase? I cut my hand today and bled so much. I was just really scared, so I told them. Who knew they'd make such a big deal out of it and actually take me to the hospital? You know I don't really have any friends here. I stared at the tiny band-aid on her finger and suddenly felt pathetic and ridiculous and pitiful. If you don't mind, I can tell you things from now on. Will you be my sister? I've always felt you're so kind. As she finished speaking, a coquettish smile bloomed on her face, her eyes brimming with indescribable smugness. Suddenly, the image of my mother's dying breath flashed before my eyes. I dug my nails deep into my palms, using the pain to force myself to stay clear-headed. I have my own younger sister, so please don't call me that randomly. Eric's expression darkened completely, his eyes seething with anger. What kind of attitude is that? Apologize to Maggie immediately. She insisted on finishing that damn medicinal cuisine despite being injured. How can you justify treating her like this after all her effort? I glanced at the thermal container in his hand, a cold smirk curling at the corner of my lips. I've been fair to everyone except myself. Let's get a divorce, I'm exhausted. His furious expression froze in disbelief that these divorce words came from me. Even my usually reserved younger sister found the courage to tell Garth, we're getting divorced too. This suffocating home, we can't stay another minute. Garth paused mid-motion while changing the woman's shoes, suddenly straightening up with an expression of utter disbelief. His voice instantly rose several octaves as he roared angrily. What did you say? I ignored him. After declaring divorce, I immediately prepared to leave with my younger sister. Dragging her suitcase past Garth, she suddenly felt his hand clamp around her sister's wrist. With a sudden force, he yanked her in front of him. His eyes burned crimson with fury. Divorce? Just because I took Maggie to the hospital instead of playing along with your fake wedding charade? You're saying divorce? Have you fucking lost your mind? What's wrong with me saving people? What did I do wrong? Besides, Maggie got hurt because of your mom, and now you're threatening me with divorce. Fine, divorce. I'll let you divorce. I'll let you. The suitcase was knocked to the ground as Garth lifted his foot and stomped on it repeatedly. Veins bulged angrily on his neck. I quickly pulled my sister back behind me to shield her. She was already timid, and now her small body was trembling, on the verge of bursting into tears. It was only at this moment that I realized how foolish my decision was to agree to let my sister marry Garth. Garth kicked the suitcase over a dozen times until it finally gave way and burst open completely. Mom's belongings were scattered all over the floor. He couldn't retract his foot in time, and his leather shoe stepped directly on the clothes, leaving several footprints on the faded fabric instantly. I let out a hoarse scream immediately, stepping forward to shove him away. Don't touch them. Get away. Eric had an icy expression, his voice barely containing anger, thick with warning. Caroline, my patience with you has limits. Don't keep testing my boundaries again and again. I rushed forward to shield my mother's belongings. Gregory family's two brothers exchanged glances, and Garth immediately understood, pulling me and my sister away. Eric handed the insulated lunchbox in his hand to Maggie. Standing before the suitcase, he picked up a few garments with his fingers, glanced at them, and curled his lips in a scornful arc. Then he casually tossed the clothes back onto the floor and lit himself a cigarette, the lighter clenched in his grip, treating a pile of trash like treasure. Who are you trying to fool with this pitiful act? Did I ever starve you or leave you without clothes? You knew perfectly well the wedding was fake, so why are you making a scene now? How could a sham wedding possibly matter more than human lives? I said I'd make it up to you, and I will. Are you never going to let this go? You love these worthless rags so much. Fine. Before I could react, he flicked the lighter open and suddenly let it drop. Flames instantly erupted on my mother's keepsakes. I immediately screamed out, no. I wanted to rush forward, but my neck was Garth vice-gripped, preventing any movement. My usually gentle younger sister had gone completely mad, eyes bloodshot. She opened her mouth wide and sank her teeth viciously into Garth's hand. Seizing the moment when Garth loosened his grip, she whirled around and slapped him hard across the face. For an instant, everyone froze in shock. Maggie quickly set the insulated container on the table and rushed forward to pull her sister into a protective embrace. Don't worry, brother means no harm, he just wants to resolve the issue between you. Yet somehow, her sister found the strength to break free. Grabbing her hair in an instant, Maggie was shoved to the ground, helpless as her sister straddled her, fists flying. Pitiful wails echoed through the room. Garth had me trapped, leaving me no choice but to keep calling for his brother. Eric saw red with rage, stepping forward to violently grab his sister's hair and yank her off Maggie. He smashed her head against the wall with brutal force. After 3 impacts, blood gushed from the sister's forehead. My desperate roar trembled with urgency, yet I could only watch helplessly as my sister lost the strength to struggle. Within minutes, my mother's keepsakes burned to ashes in the flames, leaving indelible marks of black smoke staining the ground. An unprecedented sense of powerlessness and defeat overwhelmed me. I opened my mouth but could no longer make a sound. Tears surged from my eyes, my gaze falling on the scattered ashes on the ground, my shattered heart burning to cinders along with them. I should have realized 3 years ago when he proposed the condition of a secret marriage. My sister and I were merely pawns he used to placate his family. The person in their hearts has always been Maggie. Unfortunately, I realized it too late. Eric wiped the back of his hand with a tissue in disgust. Then he went to comfort Maggie. She sobbed pitifully for a long while before Garth finally released his grip on my neck, not out of mercy, but because he was busy handing tissues to Maggie. I watched as the 2 men from Gregory's family crowded around her. Their eyes filled with worry and tenderness. Maggie gradually stopped crying amidst their comforting and concerned voices. In an instant, I realized how pathetically foolish I'd been these past 3 years. I stepped toward my sister, collapsed on the floor, wanting only to take her away from this place. Yet Maggie still refused to let us go, though she was clearly the victor. The moment I helped my sister up, she approached us holding a thermos, wearing an aggrieved expression. "Caroline, I'm sorry, truly sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I know you hate me. This is just a small token for your mother. Please accept it on her behalf." I slowly lowered my gaze, staring at the person who'd caused my mother to die with eyes still wide open in grievance. In that instant, my emotions spiraled out of control. I snatched the thermal container from her hands and smashed it violently against her head. The next second, sticky broth dripped down from the top of her head, matting her hair into clumps, the mingled scent of meat and shampoo turning the stomach. My eyes bloodshot. I roared in fury, "Get out! Stop pretending to be kind in front of me." Eric fixed me with a warning glare, his eyes locked onto me unwaveringly. The moment I moved to strike, he lunged forward to intercept me. A leather shoe kicked me hard in the abdomen, then hurriedly pulled Maggie into an embrace, using his $1,000 shirt to wipe the soup from her hair. My lower back slammed heavily against the wall, and I slid down helplessly to the floor. By the time most of the mess was cleaned up, Maggie's face was already soaked with tears. Eric tore off his soiled shirt and flung it aside without hesitation. He stepped forward, bent down, and gripped my face with such force that it felt like he might shatter the bones of my jaw. Just as he raised his hand to strike me, Maggie spoke up, her voice trembling with tears. "Eric, please don't be angry. It's all my fault. I thought your mother's plane ticket was fake and assumed she'd arrive later. If I'd known she'd come like this, I would have prepared the soup in advance. It's all because of me that your wedding was ruined, and Caroline's anger is completely justified." Garth hurriedly handed her more tissues and thoughtfully brought a towel to dry her hair. Hearing this, my eyes burned with rage and my temples throbbed. To save money for me and my sister, my mother had refunded her plane ticket and switched to taking the train, yet in her mouth, it became a calculated lie. "Shut up. You have no right to talk about my mom." As soon as the words left my mouth, Eric slapped me across the face. Blood seeped from my lips, the metallic taste filling my throat. He roared in fury, "You're the one who should shut up. One more word and I'll tear your mouth apart. This whole fake wedding was set up by Maggie for you. What right do you have to yell at her? What kind of person are you? If your mother knew you've repeatedly used her illness as an excuse to demand marriage, wouldn't she choke to death on the spot?" A crack of resentment split through my expression. My heart brimmed with nothing but scorn. Recalling that cheap wedding venue, a cold smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. No wonder everything felt so slapdash. So from the very beginning, Maggie had never intended for them to attend the wedding. Everything that happened today had been meticulously planned by her all along. Seeing my silence, Eric mistook it for remorse. His voice dripped with disdain. "After all Maggie went through to arrange a wedding company for you and pulled strings to get your mom an appointment with the hospital specialist, looking at you now, it's clearly not worth it. Apologize to Maggie right now, then take your little sister and get out of my house." While gripping his arm, I said coldly, "Reissue. Don't you find yourself ridiculous? Even if you reissue it 10,000 times, she'll destroy it 10,001 times. No need for it anymore. Let her handle the paperwork for all 3 of you. Neither my sister nor I are blessed enough to enjoy it. Apologize. Unless she kneels before my mother and kowtows to confess her guilt." The fury in his eyes ignited instantly as he spoke through gritted teeth. Word by word, "Caroline, have I given you too much face? Can't you understand human language? You were the one who knelt for 2 days and a night begging for this fake wedding. What, don't want it now? Or are you afraid people will find out your mother's illness is a lie? 3 years ago she was critically ill, saying you had to marry me. Now 3 years later she's critically ill again, demanding a wedding. Your mother's life sure is tough. I never imagined my mother's illness would be twisted into his accusation of me using marriage as a scam. In an instant, my blood ran cold. I clenched my fists with all my strength, my knuckles trembling. Shut up. You don't deserve to mention my mom. You don't deserve to. Eric, divorce. Let's divorce now. I never want to see you again. May you three shameless bastards be locked together forever. Hearing me mention divorce again, he suddenly grabbed my neck with both hands. His grip grew tighter and tighter, my face turning purple from suffocation. Maggie had just finished picking the vegetable leaves from her hair when she rushed forward to grab Eric's hand. Eric couldn't bear to contradict her, and finally released his grip just before I suffocated. Maggie walked up to me, her eyes brimming with aggrieved tears, as she bent down to help me up. She was shoved aside by her younger sister who had just woken. The force was too strong, her hand slammed into the corner of the cabinet behind her, and she let out a muffled groan of pain. Garth immediately pulled her into his arms, his heart aching as he examined the injury on her hand. He turned and snapped at his sister. Still haven't learned your lesson? Huh, seems I've been too lenient with you. Now you've even learned to threaten divorce. Fine, let's divorce. I've had enough of your mother's 3-year-long act. If she dies with regrets after the divorce, that's none of my business. Eric's face had darkened to its limit. I had just pulled my sister up and was limping away when I heard him say through gritted teeth, "Can't you hear me? Both of you, apologize to Maggie." Everything that had just happened had completely destroyed the last shred of hope in my heart. Hearing his voice now, she only sneered coldly, "We're already done. Who do you think you are to demand an apology from me? The one who should apologize is this bitch who left my mother to die with grievances unresolved. No, all three of you are equally despicable, a match made in heaven, truly." I had barely stepped out the door when the back of my neck was suddenly Eric grabbed and yanked back inside. My younger sister couldn't reach me in time. Her face twisted with urgency. Eric forced me to kneel before Maggie, his leather shoe pressing down hard on my calf, rendering me immobile. While dialing his assistant's number, he threatened, "Apologize now, or I won't mind arranging your mother's funeral while she's still alive." The call had already connected, and the menace in his eyes grew increasingly intense. I gritted my teeth and spat at him. The next second, he immediately said coldly, "Cancel the entire wedding and change it to Caroline's damn funeral. After dragging it out for 3 years, I'll make sure she dies for real now. Also, remove Maggie's hospital appointment." The other end quickly responded, "Mr. Eric, Miss Caroline's mother has already passed away." At this morning's wedding, Eric's furious expression instantly froze on his face. Cracks rapidly spread across the surface. At last, the pressure beneath my feet relented. The bones in my calves screamed with pain as if they were being crushed by him. Seizing the opportunity, my sister shoved his body away. With her support, I managed to stagger to my feet. Garth wanted to act. But seeing his brother's unusual expression, he forcibly restrained himself from lashing out. By the time Eric hung up the phone, my sister and I had already made our way back to the door. He immediately said coldly, "Wait, the matter isn't cleared up yet. You can't leave. How am I supposed to explain to the family now that you're leaving? I can't tolerate any deception. You must give me an explanation." Now Eric's eyes held nothing but coldness and scrutiny. As if the person who had just lost control in anger wasn't him at all, a mocking smile tugged at the corner of my lips. Pointing at the already scabbed wound on my sister's forehead, I said, "My mother is already gone. Surely you won't even deny me the right to treat my sister's wound. Do we really need to spell everything out between us? A vague beginning, a vague ending. After all, you're still busy taking care of your lover. Let's not waste each other's time." Eric was infuriated by my indifferent attitude, his tone reigniting with anger. "I've explained to you countless times, Maggie and I aren't what you think. Divorce isn't something you can just decide on a whim. Have you forgotten what you promised me back then? I only just found out about your mother's passing. She was fine for 3 whole years. How was I supposed to predict she'd die this time? I can make up for the wedding you want. Everything is negotiable. Can you stop being unreasonable?" I let out a cold laugh, furious with him. "Everything is negotiable. Now that my mother is gone, I don't need to maintain this relationship with you anymore. There's nothing to discuss except divorce. I agreed to a secret marriage back then solely for my mother's medical expenses. Their hearts only have Maggie. Yet the Gregory family would never accept such a scheming woman. They only want a docile daughter-in-law who's easy to control. We only entered this door to silence the parents of the Gregory family. Now that mother is gone, the filth hidden by the Gregory family should be brought to light." Garth, seeing his brother being put in a difficult position, immediately bossed his sister around. "Can't you talk some sense into your sister? What are you standing there for? Divorce is no joke. Our family is in the wrong here. We can just hold another wedding for you, if you're really unhappy." We could even hold it at your mother's gravesite." Before the sister could speak, Maggie anxiously interjected, "Please stop fighting, it's all my fault, everything's my fault. I only came to your home because I didn't want there to be misunderstandings between you. I wanted to explain in person. But I never thought it would lead to even bigger misunderstandings." I looked at her delicate face, my eyes filled with mocking laughter. "Still acting now, we're already getting divorced. Congratulations, but your path to climbing up has only just begun." She thought that without us, she could become the Gregory family's young madam. Little did she know, we were merely her human shields. The horror of Gregory's household was far beyond anything she could have imagined. After taking several deep breaths, my sister turned to Garth with determination and said, "I won't try to persuade her. This is a choice we've made together, my sister and I. It's over. The 3 years of marriage to you were the most painful days of my life." Having said this, my sister took my hand and we walked out the door together. Garth had never seen my sister so resolute. He wanted to chase after us, but his brother stopped him. My sister and I had just reached the ground floor when she suddenly collapsed to one side. I frantically called for emergency help and rushed her to the hospital alone, while the doctor tended to her wounds. I opened my phone to look for a housekeeping service to clean the small home we lived in before marriage. Then I saw online reports about Gregory family's heir holding a wedding. The comment section was flooded with paid trolls, pushing the topic straight to the top of the trending list. On the leaked contract photo from the wedding company, the signature read Maggie. Irritated, I closed the news page and sent my residential address to a cleaning service company, right after making the payment. My younger sister came out with her wound bandaged, supporting her as we left the hospital. I noticed the trending topic had already vanished by the time I called a ride on my phone. No need to guess, it was clearly the work of the Gregory family's matriarch. She never allows any factors unfavorable to the Gregorys to surface. Just as she handled Eric and Garth's pursuit of Maggie 3 years ago, she now deals even more ruthlessly with schemes from social climbers. I will never forget the first time Eric took me to Gregory's house. Mrs. Gregory looked at my uneasy self. Her condescending gaze was like inspecting a satisfactory piece of goods. The Gregory family was so powerful they didn't even need arranged marriages, yet ultimately chose my sister and me to sign marriage contracts. He casually tossed me a $5 million card when it was over. As if buying his son a toy, they occupy the position when they want it, and discard it whenever they please. I had feared countless times that before my mother's illness was cured, the Gregory family would abandon my sister and me first, but I never imagined the cruel reality would arrive even faster than expected. Maggie thought she could take my place once I got divorced. Little did she know the real reason why the Gregory family had discarded her. I gave the housekeeping aunt the keys to clean the apartment, then took my younger sister out for late-night snacks near the neighborhood. On our way back, I spotted a familiar figure downstairs. Letting my younger sister go upstairs first, I walked up to Eric. At this moment, he no longer carried the arrogance from 2 hours ago, his face etched with indescribable dejection. This was the first time I'd ever seen such an expression on his face. It seems he's already uncovered the truth about my mother's death at the wedding. The two of us walked together through the neighborhood for a while, and just as we were about to part ways downstairs, he suddenly called out my name. "Honey, can we talk?" After 3 years of marriage, Eric was calling me by such an intimate term for the first time, yet it sent chills down my spine. The next second, my voice turned cold. "Everything that needed to be said has been said. I have nothing more to discuss with you. Where you stepped on my leg still hurts. When you have time, go file for divorce. I want nothing. For my mother's illness, I trapped myself and my sister in Gregory's house for 3 years. Now I only want freedom." I finished speaking and stepped around him to climb the stairs, but my hand was suddenly yanked back. He forcibly spun me around to face him, his eyes faintly smoldered with unwillingness. "Caroline, you know my family situation. Divorce isn't something you can just decide on a whim." I looked at this face I once yearned for in my dreams, now incapable of stirring even a trace of emotion in me. "Is that so? Then we can settle it in court. Mrs. Gregory is well aware of my family circumstances. I don't think she'll make things difficult for me. After all, there are plenty of obedient tools around. And now, this disobedient daughter-in-law of hers no longer meets her expectations." Hearing my words, Eric slowly loosened his grip on my hand. The light in his eyes gradually dimmed. This time, he didn't stop me from leaving. The moment I went upstairs, a bitter smile tugged at the corner of my lips. As expected, his guilt was merely fleeting, the slightest cold shoulder from me, and he'd turn away without hesitation. Unwavering devotion belongs forever to Maggie alone. Returning home and seeing the worried look in my sister's eyes, I comfortingly patted her head and told her to go to sleep. I curled up on the sofa and sat there until the early hours of the morning. sending out resumes until my head spun and my vision blurred. Fortunately, I received an interview notification very soon. Early the next morning, as I stepped out with my bag, I bumped into a figure in a sharp suit standing at the door. The frustration from last night had vanished. Eric curved his lips and approached me, clutching a document folder in his hand. He handed it to me like a prized offering. His eyes faintly gleaming with anticipation. "You should move here to live. The property is under my name. This house is too old and too small." He spoke with unshakable confidence, disparaging the home I'd bought through my own efforts, completely ignoring my darkening expression. Before I could respond, he continued, "You're dressed like that, going job hunting. Gregory's family can afford to keep you. You don't need to do this." I laughed angrily at his words and immediately retorted, "Eric, don't you have anything better to do? Who do you think you are? I live here precisely to never see you again. Can't you understand that? Are you mentally slower than others? I don't need your support. I have hands and feet to work for myself. I was just putting on an act to fit this position. I can earn money just fine without you." With that, I shoved past him, knocking aside the document folder in his hand. But I'd only taken 2 steps when Eric strode right in front of me with his long legs. His eyes actually revealed a trace of humility and pleading. When he spoke, his voice sounded somewhat unreal. "How could I be idle while managing such a large company? Today I had Garth attend the meeting for me. I just managed to spare a little time. I'm truly sorry about what happened to Auntie." His hypocritical apology made me sick to my stomach. Countless times I waited for him to come home. And he always said he was busy, but now that Mom is gone, I'm getting a divorce. Suddenly, he has time. Remembering how Mom took her last breath in my sister's arms, I dig my nails deep into my palms. Through gritted teeth, I said, "If your apology could bring my mother back to life, then I'd accept it. Otherwise, I want you to disappear from my sight forever." "Eric, I truly don't understand you. When we got married, you coldly warned me not to develop feelings for you. Later, you went even further by treating Maggie as your wife, granting her all the privileges. Now that I want a divorce, why are you coming to find me?" His face grew paler with each of my accusing words. Just as I was about to speak, my phone rang. He glanced down at it and immediately pressed the lock button to mute it. The movement was so practiced it seemed rehearsed countless times. Suddenly, I felt puzzled. Countless nights over 3 years when I worried about his late returns, was this how he always hung up on me? The ringing had just ceased, yet before he could speak, the call came through again. Eric revealed familiar impatience in his eyes. He took a deep breath, raised his gaze, and looked at me tentatively. I pointed expressionlessly ahead, signaling him to get lost. While he turned to answer the phone, I slipped away in the opposite direction. The moment I got in the car, I set my phone to silent and do not disturb mode. Only after the interview ended did I notice dozens of missed calls on my phone. It was from my sister and Eric. Besides that, there was another entertainment news push notification about Gregory's family. A bad premonition rose in my heart. Upon clicking, I indeed saw photos of myself and my sister wearing cheap wedding dresses while waiting for the groom on my wedding day. Someone exposed in the comments that my sister and I used our own mother's illness to threaten Gregory's family into a fraudulent marriage. Even our mother's death was claimed to be part of a scripted act. Some even dug up details about our hometown background. The vast disparity in assets made netizens overwhelmingly believe these claims. I was trembling with anger, taking screenshots one by one to preserve evidence for a potential lawsuit. Just as I was about to hail a cab home, Eric called again. He immediately started shouting accusations. "Didn't you say you wanted a divorce? Then why expose those photos? Do you know the wedding company is planning to sue Maggie because the person who signed the contract wasn't the same as the wedding's main participant? She was just trying to help out of kindness. And now you're acting like this. Aren't you being downright inhuman? That trending topic yesterday was your doing too, wasn't it? You knew full well my mom doesn't like her. How can you be so scheming? She's already let go of the fact that you laid hands on her, so what more do you want? Seeing how adamant you were, I really thought you wanted a divorce. Turns out you were just playing hard to get with me all along." I was so furious I nearly passed out on the spot. Facing someone so shameless and brainless, any words would be a waste of breath. Think whatever you want. If you insist on being narcissistic, I can't help it. Just let me know when you've set the time for the divorce. Without waiting for his response, I immediately hung up the phone. After taking just 2 steps, I saw Eric's Maybach parked right in front of me. My face instantly darkened. Before I could figure out how to retort, he put on an affected air and said, "If you don't want a divorce, that's fine too. I'll pretend nothing happened this time. But you must apologize to Maggie. You were indeed wrong to hit her first." This time I completely lost my temper and shouted at the top of my voice, Are you out of your mind? Only an idiot wouldn't see who posted all that stuff online. Has your brain been boiled into soup by Maggie? My mom was in such a bad state that day. And you think I'd have the staff take photos? Only a beast would do something like that. He didn't expect me to argue with him right on the street, and his face instantly flushed red. Hearing the insults, it immediately darkened like the bottom of a pot. Just as he was about to speak, his phone rang. He glanced at me. A flicker of hesitation crossing his face. After answering the call, he quickly started the car and sped away from me. There was no need to guess, it had to be Maggie calling. Only she could make Eric lose control like that. A self-deprecating smile tugged at the corner of my lips as I took a taxi back home alone. The moment I opened the door, the company I interviewed with called. Miss Caroline, may I ask if you're the woman in those online photos? We're very sorry, but we may not be able to hire you. The call ended, and I forced a smile as I walked through the door. My younger sister had already prepared dinner and hurried over to take my bag from me. How was your day? You must be tired. Sis, eat first. Once I recover, I'll start job hunting too, don't worry. Even though I haven't worked in 3 years, supporting you won't be a problem. I glanced at my phone to check the date. It was time to change my sister's dressing. During the meal, she seemed uneasy, hesitating several times as if wanting to say something but holding back. After a long pause, she finally spoke up. Garth called me again. My hand holding the chopsticks paused. I knew exactly how much my younger sister loved Garth. Part of the reason I agreed to a secret marriage back then was considering how deeply she truly loved him. I thought her resolve to divorce might be wavering, but never expected her next words. Elder sister, can't we file for divorce? I don't want any connection with him anymore. There was a determination in her eyes that I'd never seen before. At that moment, I suddenly realized that the little sister I'd always protected had grown up. I smiled at her. Go get ready for the hospital to change your dressing. I'll be quick. While my sister was changing clothes, I finished washing the dishes and called a cab. All the way, I was thinking about how to tell Eric about moving up the divorce date at the hospital. While my sister was getting her dressing changed at the outpatient clinic, I made several calls to Eric in the hallway, but none of them were answered. Assuming he was probably busy with work, I went downstairs to pay the bills first. There was a crowd gathered below, and I couldn't even squeeze my way to the payment window. A familiar roar erupted from the center of the crowd. How have I wronged you, making me and my brother look like fools? This is your so-called fracture. Not a single wound on your arm. These 5 years must have been me being blind. Don't let me see you again. Eric was even angrier than the day we argued, teetering on the edge of losing control. Across from him, Maggie had bandages loosely unraveling from her arm, dragging on the ground. With not a single wound visible, her once gentle expression was gone, her delicate features now twisted into something terrifying. These were all your choices. Do my 5 years of youth not count as time? Those were all things I deserved. Don't you dare play innocent in front of me. I know exactly what you and Garth are. Don't think I'm as stupid as those 2 fools from the family. Eric was absolutely livid, the veins on his neck pulsing visibly. The next second, he flung the thick stack of documents in his hand right into Maggie's face in front of everyone. I had never seen him be so ruthless toward Maggie before. Bystanders quickly cleared a path. He stormed toward me angrily. The moment he saw me, his furious expression vanished instantly, forcibly replaced by a strained smile. Honey, can we talk? Remembering the divorce matter, I nodded in agreement. When the crowd dispersed, I finished paying the fees and walked with him to the stairwell corner. Before I could speak, he slapped himself hard across the face. I'm sorry. For all these 3 years, I'm sorry. Eric slowly raised his eyes, those once sharp eyes now webbed with bloodshot veins. As the head of the Gregory family, he looked utterly disheveled at this moment. His voice trembled as he spoke. I had no idea she was like this. If my mother hadn't investigated her, I'd still be completely in the dark. She posted everything online herself, from the very beginning. She never intended to let me and Garth attend the wedding. I found out too late. I'm sorry. For the past 3 years, she even forged your mother's medical records and documents. That's why I thought you were lying to me about the secret marriage back then. I just needed a puppet to help stabilize things at home, so I didn't expose it and treated you poorly. Enough. No need to say more. I softly interrupted his confession. At this point, words were useless. No wonder Mrs. Gregory didn't give me any trouble when she heard about my divorce. Indeed, no woman becomes the mistress of a household without being formidable. Maggie saw right through those tricks of theirs. As long as it didn't affect the Gregory family, she turned a blind eye. Now that things were about to blow up, she struck fast and mercilessly. Eric refused to back down and insisted on explaining. Before, when her pipes were leaking, the ceiling was peeling, and the neighbors were harassing her, it was all just an act she orchestrated. I was completely fooled by her, and so was my brother. Believe me, I won't even glance at her again. Let's not get divorced. Okay, impossible. The divorce is happening, there's no room for compromise. Over these 3 years, in places you couldn't see, I gave this relationship countless chances. I gave myself countless chances, but everything vanished completely the moment Mom passed away. Eric sank weakly to the ground, burying his face heavily in his suit pants. He reached out in frustration, tousling his short hair while murmuring "I'm sorry" repeatedly under his breath. Yet I turned a blind eye and spoke as if to myself. Besides, our marriage was just an act from the beginning, devoid of real feelings. There's no need for you to confess to me now. Fulfilling my mother's dying wish was never part of our original agreement anyway. In matters of the heart, people are always greedy. Getting a little makes them crave for more. It was my own greed that caused Mother to die with her eyes still open. He was wrong, but I was more at fault. I can't forgive myself, nor can I ever forgive him. After a long silence between us, I sighed and said, "Let's go file for divorce tomorrow." As the words fell, my sister called me. I glanced at him and added, "Bring Garth along. My sister is divorcing him too. After this, we'll have no ties left. These 3 years, it's been good working with you." Without waiting for his response, I turned and walked straight back to the outpatient clinic. I thought this matter would be over by today, but that very night, Maggie's evidence of meddling in others' marriages over the past 3 years was exposed online, one piece after another. And that wedding planning company also came forward to confirm that Eric and I are legally married. Eric even posted on his own account, saying we were just holding a belated wedding ceremony and there was no coercion involved. In just 1 short hour, Maggie became the most reviled homewrecker across the entire internet. I never expected Eric to treat her so mercilessly, but then Maggie's counterattack made me realize how naive I'd been. She had recorded video of every conflict we'd had at home that day, our wedding day. At this moment, directly exposed online, revealing Eric's fake persona as a loving husband. In an instant, the Gregory brothers transformed from high-flying CEOs to universally despised wolves in sheep's clothing. The label of domestic abusers was firmly nailed to them. The Gregory family's stocks plummeted overnight. The company's account was flooded with scathing comments. Many customers demanded refunds. That night, Gregory's PR team worked through the night, but my sister and I surprisingly had a good night's sleep. The next day at the Civil Affairs Bureau, I could barely recognize them when I saw them at the entrance. They walked into the bureau without a word. And even after coming out with divorce certificates in hand, I still felt somewhat dazed. As I was leaving with my sister, Eric softly called out to me, "Honey, take care," nodded without turning his head. Only after returning did they see the clarification video Eric had posted online at 5 in the morning, but netizens could tell it was his fallout with his lover, and no one bought it. In the following week, Gregory's family faced an unprecedented crisis. Reputation plummeted. The Gregory brothers were frantically brainstorming countermeasures in the business world. Mrs. Gregory secretly dug up every detail about Maggie, paid them handsomely to speak out online. This was done to undermine Maggie's credibility. The Gregory family launched emergency PR efforts while frantically engaging in charity work. A week later, things finally returned to normal. Maggie was thoroughly condemned as a social outcast. Meanwhile, my sister and I also found our first jobs after the divorce. On our first day at work, the boss immediately called us into his office. Pointing at Eric's face on the computer screen, he asked, "The wife they're talking about online, it's not you, is it?" I froze for a moment before quickly shaking my head in response. "Probably just someone with the same name." The boss waved his hand dismissively with a sigh of relief. "All right, get back to work." Life finally began to settle into calm, until 2 weeks later. Maggie created a new account and posted a pregnancy test result. I long pressed this post and tapped "not interested." "It won't have anything to do with me anymore, everything is over."